The Cloaking Conspiracy. Written by Reed Parker and narrated by Benjamin Wilson. In the bustling city of New Haven, where humans and synthetics coexisted, Detective Max Calder was renowned for his ability to solve even the most complex cases. With every solved case, the bond between him and his synthetic partner, Elara, grew stronger. Their partnership was anything but conventional, but they were New Haven's best hope for maintaining balance in a city on the edge of chaos. Max stared out of his office window, watching the neon-lit streets below. The city never seemed to sleep, and neither did he. The next case had just landed on his desk, a mysterious string of break-ins at local businesses that left no trace of the perpetrators. Max knew that he and Elara would have to work quickly to prevent panic from spreading through the city. "Elara," Max called out as he reached for his coat. "We've got a new case. Let's hit the streets and see what we can find." As they arrived at the scene of the latest break-in, Max couldn't help but notice the uneasy tension that hung in the air. Business owners whispered amongst themselves, casting nervous glances at the shattered window of the electronics store that had been targeted. Max approached the owner, a middle-aged man with a worried expression on his face. "What can you tell me about the break-in?" Max asked, pulling out his notepad. The man hesitated before replying, "I don't understand it. There's no sign of forced entry, and the only thing missing is a single data chip. But the strangest part is that my security cameras didn't catch anything. It's like the thief just vanished." Max furrowed his brow, sensing that this case was more than just a simple burglary. He and Elara spent hours combing through the scene and interviewing witnesses. But they found no clear leads. It was as if the perpetrator had left no trace of their existence. Max and Elara returned to their office late into the night, weary from their fruitless search for clues. As they sat down to review their notes, Elara's eyes suddenly lit up with an idea. "Max, you remember that case we worked on last year? The one involving the invisible thief?" she asked, her voice filled with excitement. Max recalled the case, which involved a criminal who had used an experimental cloaking device to commit robberies undetected. "Do you think we're dealing with something similar here?" he asked. "It's possible," Elara replied, pulling up the relevant case files on her built-in display. The technology used in that case was still in its early stages, but it could have been refined by now. With renewed determination, Max and Elara began to retrace their steps, investigating the previous break-ins for any signs of advanced cloaking technology. They visited each of the targeted businesses and meticulously scanned for residual energy signatures or other evidence that might point them in the right direction. Finally, after hours of painstaking work, they found something. A faint energy signature was detected at the scene of the most recent break-in, indicating that a cloaking device had been used. The trail led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, where they discovered a hidden workshop filled with stolen technology and blueprints for an advanced cloaking device. As they entered the workshop, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a young woman with short-cropped hair and an air of defiance about her. She wore a wrist-mounted device that flickered with energy, and Max instantly recognized it as the source of the cloaking technology. The young woman raised her hands in surrender, realizing she was cornered. Max cautiously approached her, keeping his eyes locked on the cloaking device. "What's your name?" Max asked, trying to assess her motives. She hesitated for a moment before responding. "I'm Lena. Look, I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a bad person. I had no choice." Max raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Explain." Lena sighed, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "I used to work for a top-secret research lab. We were developing the cloaking technology, but when I discovered they planned to use it for nefarious purposes, I took the prototype and ran." "But why the break-ins?" Elara questioned, her synthetic voice tinged with curiosity. "I needed parts to refine the technology and make it safe for public use. I couldn't risk it falling into the wrong hands," Lena explained, her voice filled with desperation. Max and Elara exchanged a glance, silently weighing their options. They knew they had a duty to bring Lena in, but her intentions seemed noble. As they considered their next move, the sound of sirens filled the air. A swarm of police vehicles approached the warehouse, their lights casting an eerie glow on the scene. Lena's eyes widened in panic. Please, you have to help me. If they get their hands on this technology, it could be disastrous. Max made a split-second decision, grabbing Lena's arm and pulling her behind a stack of crates. Elara, can you create a diversion? With a nod, Elara dashed toward the entrance, using her abilities to create a series of holographic decoys to confuse the incoming officers. As chaos erupted outside the warehouse, Max led Lena through a hidden exit, determined to get to the bottom of her story and prevent the powerful cloaking technology from causing harm. Max, Elara, and Lena found refuge in a safe house on the edge of the city, where they could lay low while they sorted out the situation. Lena revealed more about the shadowy organization she had worked for and the dangers the cloaking technology posed if used maliciously. As they discussed their options, Max realized that they needed to expose the organization's plans and bring them to justice. But to do so, they would need evidence. Lena mentioned that the organization kept records of all their projects in a highly secure facility. Max, Elara, and Lena devised a plan to infiltrate the facility and retrieve the records. Elara would use her unique abilities to bypass the security system, while Max and Lena, using the cloaking device, would navigate the building undetected. They knew the risks were high, but the potential consequences of inaction were far greater. The trio made their way to the facility under the cover of darkness. With Elara's help, they slipped past the security measures and gained access to the building. Once inside, Max and Lena activated the cloaking device and moved stealthily through the corridors. As they reached the room containing the records, they discovered a chilling scene. Rows of synthetics, each implanted with the cloaking technology, stood silently in the dimly lit room. Max and Lena exchanged a worried glance, realizing the full scope of the organization's sinister plans. Working quickly, they retrieved the incriminating records and made their way back to Elara. As they prepared to leave, alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. The organization had discovered their intrusion. The trio raced through the facility, desperate to escape before they were captured. Elara used her advanced AI capabilities to predict the quickest route to safety, while hacking the security system to slow their pursuers. Max and Lena, still cloaked, moved quickly and silently through the chaos. As they reached the exit, they were confronted by a group of armed guards. Thinking quickly, Elara generated a series of holographic decoys, causing confusion among the guards and buying them just enough time to slip past. Once outside, they sprinted through the darkened streets, their hearts pounding as they finally reached the safety of the safe house. Exhausted but relieved, they knew they now had the evidence they needed to bring down the organization and prevent the misuse of the cloaking technology. Max contacted his superiors, presenting the records and explaining the situation. The authorities were initially skeptical, but the evidence was undeniable. A large-scale operation was launched to dismantle the organization, and the rogue synthetics were deactivated and brought in for reprogramming. Lena's actions were viewed as both heroic and criminal, but given the circumstances, she was granted a form of amnesty. She went on to work with the authorities to ensure that the cloaking technology was used responsibly and for the benefit of society. The city of New Haven slowly returned to normal, but the experience left a lasting impact on Max and Elara. As they continued to solve cases and maintain the delicate balance between humans and synthetics, they were reminded of the importance of their work and the fragile nature of the world they lived in.